What is good, Neo family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one we'll be talking about the one and only Neo stock and some very important things that we need to be looking out for the future of this company. I'm also going to talk about what's one of the technical analysis is showing and whether Neo is going to continue to keep dropping or start to run up next week, in my opinion. I'm also going to talk about the overall stock market and what's going on with inflationary data that could definitely affect Neo and the overall market going forward. I'm also going to talk about the Chinese market, as we do have some very important things to discuss that could definitely affect Neo and other companies in the US going forward. I'm also going to end this video by talking about the latest pieces of news coming out for Neo from Benzinga and other sources like that before I end this with what Neo put on their Twitter page that still makes me very, very bullish for the future of this company. Yeah, Neo may be in the red right now, guys, but I'm still very bullish for the future. Now, before I say anything about why I'm so bullish for Neo for the long-term future, before I talk about what the technical analysis is showing for the short term, I do have to mention some very important things first. First off, I'm not a financial planner. This is all for educational purposes only. So do not take this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. And not only benefits me, benefits the entire Neo community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link down below and in the description. If you do sign up for Moomoo and deposit $100, you will not only qualify for up to 5 free stocks, each worth up to $3,500, but you're also going to have the chance to win up to $200,000, as Neo is giving away $200,000 for the new year. So if you want a chance to win that money and you want up to 5 free stocks, please check out the link down below and deposit $100. So with that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So looking at Neo, we're down about 0.99% for the day, once again in the red, and Neo is continuing to tank because of many different factors that are affecting it. So looking at the one-day chart, guys, Neo was a little bit different from the market. Neo basically had lots of volatility. As you guys can see, there was a lot of the moving averages kind of flipping as we were kind of like moving very, very dramatically. We dropped very hard. Then we ran up to $21.32. Then we kind of traded sideways before we dropped a little bit and ran up, but we did close a little bit in the red. Now look at this price action and compare this to this right here. This is the S&P 500. As you guys can see, they're kind of similar, except the S&P ran a little bit harder than Neo, and so did the Nasdaq, right? The Nasdaq looked kind of similar too. So what's going on right now is Neo has similar price movements, but it didn't necessarily close in the green the way the market did. It ended up a little bit in the red. So I'm going to talk about that in a little bit more detail. But we do need to look at what is actually affecting Neo first. So look at this right here, the fear and greed index. It's currently on the fearful side, right? The market's a little bit more fearful than greedy, and this is playing its role in actually causing stocks like Neo to actually drop. I also want to talk about this right here. Inflationary data just came out as it rose about 4.9% over the last year, or from a year-to-year basis. Now, that is the fastest inflation rate gain since 1983. Once again, in decades, we've never seen inflation at this high of a rate, and that is a little bit concerning, meaning that the US Fed is going to definitely take very, very important action very soon. So this hawkish outlook, in my opinion, can cause the market to see some high volatility and maybe some drops, but we're not necessarily there just yet. We know that they're going to be tapering at a faster rate when it comes to bond purchases, but they are actually going to be raising rates a little bit later. Now, we don't know the exact degree yet, but it is coming out relatively soon. Now, look at this right here, guys. This, in my opinion, is playing a big role in Neo dropping the way it is. We're seeing more and more news about the concerns involving the bonds market in China. It states right over here, according to Reuters, that Chinese home builders and their suppliers issue spades of profit warnings as Evergrande woes bite. So what this means is Evergrande and very, very big companies out there in China that are very, very notorious for their bonds are now basically defaulting on their debt. So because this is happening, guys, this is a very similar situation to the Lehman Bros situation from 2008. And this doesn't guarantee there's going to be a major crash in China, but it kind of like signifies that things are not necessarily in a good state. And China may actually see a bit of a very big hit from the real estate sector. And that in turn may affect the US and very big institutions that depend on Chinese money. So this is important because the entire market has been kind of affected by this. Obviously, there are other factors too, but this is what's probably playing a big role in Neo closing in the red the way it is because of the fear associated with moves like this. So going forward for Neo, let's talk about this from a technical perspective. Looking at it like this, guys, we are on this downward trend. We're on this downward channel that we've been respecting for so long. I kind of mapped it down pretty well. And if I go really far back, it pretty much started since we had that reversal back from the $44 range. And we've been just dropping and dropping and dropping. Now, going into next week, guys, even though the market has shown some signs of rebounding, RSI, if I bring up the RSI, it's very, very oversold. And it looks like we're going to continue to be like this for next week. So if the market starts to rebound, and we are kind of seeing a curl right here, if the market starts to rebound, NEO could start trading to the, I would say, low to mid $20 range. And I do think the market's going to rebound a little bit for next week. So NEO should start to kind of like rise a little bit up to the mid $20 level. However, guys, as long as the market continues to see red from another piece of action from the Fed or something like that, NEO could continue to drop. And we did drop below the $20 level of support. Now we did touch 1931, and we could end up dipping one more time. So I want you guys to be prepared to see NEO drop below 20. So what do I think is going to happen for next week? I think that early next week we might start to rebound if the market does, and NEO might actually go to the low 20s, maybe even as high as the mid 20s. But then if there is some kind of news that comes out later throughout the week, we're probably going to be a lot more sideways and continue on the downward trend, and we may end up dipping back down to the 20, right? And it is possible for us to go even lower than that. We could see this thing go as low as $18 relatively soon. So at the end of the day, guys, for the majority of the week, I see us kind of being a little bit more sideways, maybe a small run up in the beginning, but then later on, we may end up dipping to a lot more lower levels. Now, even though I am saying that, guys, I'm not losing faith in this company, because look at this right here. We're forming a very bullish formation for the long term. This is a falling wedge, guys. This is another falling wedge for NEO. A falling wedge is bullish because once we get the end of it and once we see a very dramatic reversal, and that's when NEO is going to run. That's when NEO is going to explode. However, when is it going to come? I do not know the answer to that. It may take a couple of weeks. It may take a couple of months. It may take almost a year from now. Even if it takes that long, guys, I'm not scared, because for the long term, I'm still very, very bullish. And I see this as a very good buying opportunity because the money I'm putting into NEO, I'm not just going to hold it for like one day or try to day trade it. Now, some people may be doing that. You may be investing in calls. It's really up to you. But for my opinion, guys, if you are a long-term investors, you should not be too worried about this. You should see this as a very good buying opportunity because I'm still very bullish for the long term. So let's look at this right here. Benzinga is reporting this right here. Basically, they're talking about the exact same thing I just told you. NEO is in a bearish trend right now. It could continue to dip a little bit. It is dependent on how the overall market is doing, as it says right here. And if I go a little bit lower, that's about all this article is saying. So for next week, they are saying that we could see some bearish price action, but it really depends on how we respond to the RSI. And I showed you guys the RSI, it looks very oversold. So it seems like we're going to be a little bit more sideways. Maybe we could run up early in the week if the market rebounds, then continue to drop towards the end. So I just see a very sideways week pretty much for next week, and it does depend on how the overall market is doing too. Now, before you guys cry and say that it's the end of NEO, it's not the end in my opinion, because NEO is still improving their casting technology. They're still improving when it comes to European expansion. When it comes to their ET5 that's coming out relatively soon to Norway, it's going to be coming to Norway by next year, and they're going to start production in, I would say, I think Q3 of 2022. So they're getting closer to producing their ET5. They're expanding to Europe. They're going to be expanding to the US soon. They're already innovating their AI technology in Silicon Valley. So NEO is still doing very well when it comes to its fundamentals, and I see them getting better and better and better as time goes on. They're also going to be improving their production capabilities, which I just think is very, very, very bullish news for the long term. So for the long term, look at this right here. NEO also put this on their Twitter page. That makes me super, super bullish for the long-term future. It states that with the UK set to ban the sale of new petroleum cars by 2030, along with other global regions, science focus details the fewer greenhouse gas emissions from EVs, but only with consideration to their energy used to manufacture them and to charge their batteries. This is bullish news, guys. Remember, guys, even if NEO is in the red right now, in the future, the EV sector is going to grow like crazy. Like I've used this analogy in the past. I see NEO very similar to the cryptocurrency market. So the EVs are all going to be growing in the future, in my opinion. The same can be said about cryptocurrencies, and this is just an example. So a lot of different cryptocurrencies, their market caps are going to grow like crazy in the future. The same thing is going to happen to the EV sector and many other players such as NEO. That's why I'm still very, very bullish for the future. So don't lose faith, guys. I see them growing because of their fundamentals, their production, their numbers. Everything like that is going to get better and better and better over time. And you have to give this company a little bit of time, guys, because we're getting closer. It's kind of like investing in Tesla many years ago. There was times where Tesla was almost bankrupt. You guys have to remember that Tesla was not always this massive giant. It almost went bankrupt many times. NIO is not necessarily going bankrupt right now, but their stock price is dropping really hard and it's not reflecting their fundamentals. It may drop tomorrow. It may drop for a few weeks, but you know what I'm going to be doing? I'm going to be buying and buying and buying because I believe it's going to run to the upside in the future. So that's what I have for this one, guys. I'm not losing faith. I'm still very bullish, and I do not want you guys to just lose faith and tell me that Neo is a dead cat in the water because it does have insane potential for the long term. So I'm not giving financial advice, by the way. This is just for entertainment, and that's what I have for this one. Please enjoy the weekend, and I'll see you in the next one. Neo to the moon, and peace out.